I recently had to do an expert witness report for a young girl. She was 3.5 when social services took her into care. She was placed in a foster home where she was horrifically abused and assaulted at 3.5. And she finished up in several placements with lots of experts and looking at her and talking to her, and therapists and people, psychiatrists and such. And it didn't make a damn bit of difference to the wee girl. She was still traumatised. And by the time she got to school, aged about 5, her behaviour and her demeanour was such that even the teachers couldn't handle her. She was showing severe signs, even at that very young age. She became virtually uncontrollable, and she became so distraught and distressed and mentally damaged that she was just a very, very difficult case. One of the consequences of that kind of abuse and mistreatment is that children develop what's called precocious puberty. They begin puberty a hell of a lot younger than they should be. They're not emotionally equipped for it, the kind of relationships that go along with that. And it becomes like a pleasurable thing rather than an emotional interaction. And I know most parents will have experience of belligerent children, kids being cheeky, like tantrums when they're younger, and teenage tantrums and such, and arguments and such. We've all been through them. And most parents worth their salt can deal with things like that and just take them in their stride and resolve them without too much fuss or bother. But this precocious puberty, this is a different game altogether. Unless you've been trained and experienced and you've gone through all the routines and pre-checks, etc., to do a risk assessment on a young girl like that, you're not going to manage them. And so this young girl was placed in a community project full of volunteers and a few staff, and as an activity for young people. And in this activity, she had the opportunities to interact with men, young men and older men at this facility. And she took full advantage of that, or they took full advantage of her, I should say. And the social services employed a solicitor to blame the youth activity staff for what happened to this young girl. They called in me as an expert witness to make a report for the court. Keep in mind, as an expert witness, you're writing a report to the judge or the sheriff, and it is signed to, it's actually the equivalent to an oath to a judge or to a sheriff to say that you believe everything that I am saying to you is the truth, based on the facts and on the evidence. And this is an honest opinion, and whatever concerns I might have about the incidents that happened to, like in this case, to this young girl. Now that's a statement of truth, and I can't deviate from that. If this is what I believe, I must write it down. So you can imagine my shock. I write the report, obviously holding social services accountable for the girl's predisposition. I mean, where the activity was or what the activity entailed is irrelevant. It could have happened anywhere where she could have the opportunity to interact with people like that without the proper supervision and without the proper risk assessments. Then it was bound to happen, no matter where it was. You can't blame the staff from one particular community project when it could have equally happened in any other community project. That was my argument. The report that I wrote was rejected, and they made up some excuse about, I don't know, not being in chronological order or something. It was a total rubbish, but I rewrote it with everything in chronological order, which made it kind of jumbled up, to be honest. But anyway, that's what they wanted, so I wrote it. They also wanted me to blame the volunteers and staff at the community project, which obviously I refused to do. Like I've just been saying, it could have happened anywhere, any staff, any volunteers. So when I didn't get paid, and when I saw that this was not being handed into the court, I made a complaint to the solicitors regulators. And I'm going to read you what they replied, and it's interesting from parents' point of view, because this is what's happening in the family courts. Listen to this. Mr. Hanna raised concerns that a firm instructed him to prepare a social care report for a civil case, and Mr. Hanna says that his initial report was accepted but later returned by the firm, and he was requested to redraft it and place more focus on the staff and volunteers involved, like I've just been telling you. We can see that the firm emailed me to explain that the report did not cover the requirements detailed in its instructions, but they were what instructions? What were they instructing me to do? Let's look at this. The firm is under a duty to act in its client's instructions, and it's in their best interests, which would include obtaining a compliant expert report. We have not seen any evidence that raises any conduct concerns in this regard. In other words, the solicitors were not in the wrong in doing this, in trying to deceive the court. They were not in the wrong. That's okay. They wanted me to become a part of that, which I refused to do. That's why they weren't going to pay for it. But you transfer this scenario to the family court, and this is what's happening. Social services, you're only allowed, sorry, I should explain, you're only allowed one expert witness in a court case, otherwise you might get conflicting views on the same issue. So it's quite simple, you just have one expert witness. Now every time a family goes to court, a family court, they're stuck with a dilemma, they're stuck with a problem, because social services know the routine, they've been doing it all their lives, and so they know that they want to be the first ones to get their expert witness into the court. Because that expert witness will, what was the word? Compliant. Their expert witness will be compliant with social services in the family court. If social services have ordered that expert witness will say exactly and report exactly as social services want them to. That's simply acceptable to the courts. So you've absolutely no chance of winning against some of these people, because not only are social services going against you, everybody else in the court is going against you, including the solicitors and everyone in that court. If you go to a family court, you can bet your life that the ones that are there say the ones that have any kind of career in a family court system, they will have shares in children's homes and adoption agencies trading abroad. It's in their best interest to get children away from people like yourselves and into their care homes and onto their adoption agencies. And they're allowed to do that because they've hired an expert witness to back them up, even though it's not true. They hired a compliant expert witness. That's not an independent expert witness, a compliant expert witness. When you go for a parenting assessment, that's not an independent parenting assessment. That's an assessment from somebody who's compliant with social services. And so when you get a parenting course, you're going on a parenting course where they're going to be scrutinising you and testing you to find faults with you, because they are compliant with the wishes of social services. In other words, the whole system is stacked against you. There are ways around that. I won't bore you with the whole routine, but there are ways around that, and there are ways that truly do upset the local authorities. There's a reason why Bradford kicked this charity out of their town and kept us away from their town. If you want to find out why, just get to know more about the charity and you'll see why they did not want us there. And they did some vile and horrible things to my family and myself, because we were making a difference. People were afraid of us because they didn't know what we were doing, what we were up to, and that's what I want you guys to be. Not compliant, but a bit more, what's the word? Reserved. We'll say reserved. Okay, look, get in touch, because we've got some projects now, and there are ways of dealing with these people, there are ways of dealing with this situation, but you've got to do these things and you've got to approach these things in the right way at the right time. Timing is everything in these situations. So please get in touch and we'll go through this. And just as a by the way, we have I've started I have a new channel sorted out for the Dutybound project that we have. And this is for people who want to take action and want to be better informed than the average parent on how to protect your children and other people's children, which is also crucial. Crucial that you all work together. But I want to share with you some of the knowledge and experience and some of the insight into how these perpetrators actually get away with it, and how the social services contrive things to lead people into taking the wrong action, how they destabilise families and what their actual agenda might be. But get in touch and keep in touch and subscribe to the channel, because I'm going to be updating more videos from here in. We need to sort this thing out. It's appalling what's going on. Thanks for listening to this. I know it's going to be a long one, this video, so thanks for listening, thanks for your patience, but it's for a very, very important cause.